All right, for these next few workflow tips, let's go ahead and switch over to just using the playground. Really doesn't matter where we type this stuff out. This is just going to be code that is going to help you determine what device you're on, and also kind of the layout of where things should be based on the screen size. So let's first take a look at just testing your device. And you know what? We're trying to make these short, so let's go ahead and just paste this in. Okay, you can either go with a equals or a does not equal. Okay, so if you're making a universal project, one that's going to support both the TV and iOS devices, this is how you can test what device you're on. And of course, you can do the same thing with your iPhone and iPad. So you might do something like this, throw an else statement in there so you can kind of just get everybody in there at once. So if it's a TV, if it's a phone, if it's an iPad, test all those guys. And of course, too, you could do something like, well, what we originally had in here, where if it does not equal your TV, then of course that's either going to be your iPhone or your iPad. Usually what I find is for layout purposes, I kind of got to do something, for all three of them. Okay, and then another bit of useful code. You can also put in here something like this too. So this, for example, would the code that we put inside of here would be completely ignored. So you could put, stuff for TV only, right? So this function wouldn't even be compiled on the iOS devices. So if there was something that you were going to tap into, just ignore this. If there was something you were going to tap into, I don't know, device-wise or something like that, it's only applied to the TV. You can do that right here. Or what you can do too is just, I don't know, it could be a function, upgrade player or something like that, and you can have the same name over this way, but then that would be for iOS, right? And actually, let me make sure that is the, there you go. As long as that doesn't produce an error in a second. So you can have the same function name, but it gets only compiled for whatever device you want, right? So do something slightly different in there. Just another option. And you could also bring the two of those things together. Actually, no, let's go into the screen size first. It's always common to tie things layout-wise into the width and the height. So you might have declare a variable, and this would be something like, this width is going to equal self.view.frame.width. Obviously, the same thing for the height. Now, this would be for a non-SpriteKit based project. So if you were actually using SpriteKit, the code is a little bit simplified. Here you go. And these would be CG flow values, by the way. So let's put it here for SpriteKit. You just basically don't have to put in here the view, right? Because you're working, I guess it's assuming you're in a scene file, or I guess SK scene file, right? So not for SpriteKit. Okay, get that down. A lot of this stuff I keep in just in my notes app, so because it's like so often that I go there and have to deal with it. And just ignore the cell stuff. Again, we're in a playground file, so some of these things aren't going to work perfectly. But and then another option. Okay, we'll keep that over here. Well, let's do this. So let's say you want to test if you were on a iPad Pro, for example. You could do something like this. Put in here if, and then one of the first things we'd want to check is, are we actually on an iPad, right? So just, again, this code. And here's a kind of neat one that I didn't know about until recently, until I needed it. You can put it here, UI screen.main.nativeBounds.size.height, and if that equals 2732, then on the iPad Pro, I should say. And I believe that would be the biggest of the iPad Pros. So what's this? If you click over here, native bounds. Actually, it's not going to give us. Oh, maybe it will, and maybe it won't. thought I was going to give us a little bit of info on it. Basically what it is the native size of the screen in portrait mode, and that's kind of an important point. So you can test this at any time, even if the device itself is in landscape mode. You can still test the native bounds, okay, and it's always going to return the same height value, all right? And some of these things, if you're it depends on whether or not you're rotated or not. So that's the main difference right there. And then at this point you might set a variable, like is on iPad Pro, right, equals true. Do something like that, right? So you declare this variable in the class, in your class, and then after this is initially run, just the first time, then that okay, well that equals true. So you can just then at that point for further functions test, is on iPad equal true, do whatever. And I think that is actually it for. Oh, we're almost past 5 minutes. All right, let's close it down so I can still say this is a 5-minute tip.